This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Court rules. Good afternoon. Welcome aboard. In a 6-3 decision today, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that states can cut off Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider. This case stems from South Carolina, but has national ramifications. The ruling upholds the rights of states to deny taxpayer dollars for abortion services. Today marks 10 years since the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage in all 50 states. It was June 26, 2015, when the Obergefell v. Hodges decision came down. That was a 5-4 decision. Michael Geer with the Pennsylvania Family Institute says the ruling started us down a slippery slope when it comes to LGBTQ indoctrination.
Americans are waking up to the implications of that decision, including what the real value and purpose of marriage is, and they're waking up to the aggressiveness of the LGBT movement to push this ideology on our kids, telling them they can change their sex, that sexual experimentation is a good thing. All of that came in like a flood after Obergefell, and people are just getting tired of it.
Nearly 600,000 same-sex couples have tied the knot in the decades since that high court ruling that sanctioned gay marriage. Today, nearly 2/3 of Americans say they approve of homosexual marriage. Less than 3 in 10 did 3 decades ago. President Trump says the U.S. will entertain nuclear talks with Iran next week, but he's not holding his breath that any deal will get done.
We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought, now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not.
Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini issuing a statement today saying the Islamic State will never surrender to us, and he claims to have dealt us a, quote, slap in the face. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth singing an altogether different tune.
Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Hegseth hosting a press conference at the Pentagon today where he talked about the success of Operation Midnight Hammer, that secret mission to dismantle Iran's nuclear program.
If you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated. U.S.
senators are being briefed today on the effectiveness of last weekend's airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Scare in the air. Sparks flew and smoke billowed from the engine of an American Airlines plane that had just taken off from Vegas yesterday. Correspondent Sam Braun.
Imagine what you would be thinking in that situation. Passengers on board that flight reported it was literally a matter of seconds after liftoff before they heard what they described as gunshots and then saw sparking from the passenger windows. Video from the ground reveals smoke coming out of the plane. Thankfully, it was a quick and safe return right back to the Vegas airport.
The flight was headed to Charlotte. No injuries reported. An advisory panel established by Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. is voting today on U.S. vaccine policy.
The panel is expected to vote on whether to recommend RSV immunization for infants. They're also scheduled to vote on whether to recommend the flu vaccine.
The doctor nominated to head the CDC says vaccines serve an important role in public health policy.
Vaccines absolutely save lives. And if I'm confirmed as a CDC director, I commit to making sure that we continue to prioritize vaccine availability.
Dr. Susan Menares says she has seen no causal link between vaccines and autism. RFK has expressed some skepticism about the efficacy of vaccines. Good and not so good news to report when it comes to heart attacks. Researchers at Stanford say the good news is deaths from heart attacks have dropped nearly 90% the past 50 years. The bad news is deaths from all other types of heart disease have risen 80% over that same time period. Researchers blame obesity, physical inactivity, and poor food choices. No surprises at the NBA draft last night. Commissioner Adam Silver with the call from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn.
With the first pick In the 2025 NBA Draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Cooper Flagg from Duke University.
The 6'9" Flagg is just 18 years old. Flagg is the second youngest player ever selected first in the draft. A guy named LeBron James was 8 days younger than him when he was taken first by the Cleveland Cavaliers back in 2003. Still to come on the Noon Report for Thursday, 3 Mile Island back in business. Micron clears a major hurdle and food insecurity during the summer months.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams, tracking some showers and even a couple thunderstorms. I'll have forecast details up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. Let's check the stories that are making news where you live next, all across New York and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Senator Dave McCormick is singing the praises of Operation Midnight Hammer, that secret U.S. military mission to dismantle Iran's nuclear capability.
I don't know how any American could not think it was flawlessly executed. Flawless operational security. I think it was great leadership by the president and a great operation by the military.
McCormick and others in the U.S. Senate are being briefed today in a closed-door hearing by the intelligence community on the overall success of Operation Midnight Hammer. The $100 billion Micron facility in central New York took a huge step forward yesterday with the release of a preliminary report on how the project will impact the surrounding community. Onondaga County Executive Ryan McMahon.
The reality is when you make things, there is going to be impacts, and that's the balance we need to find.
McMahon says Micron will build wetlands to protect endangered animals which would be impacted by that computer chip manufacturing project.
The fact that Micron is restoring wetlands is very noble, and over 1,300 acres that will essentially be forever wild.
The county executive says contingency plans are also in place to accommodate commercial truck traffic and the impact that will have on the town of Clay. Following a public comment period, Micron should officially begin construction in the fall. It'll take 16 years to finish that massive complex, though operations at the plant will begin before then. Oneida County, New York is still cleaning up from Sunday's deadly tornado. The same area was hit hard by a twister last summer. Carolyn Howard lives in storm-wrecked Rome, New York.
This one hurt more than anything because he almost died.
3 people did die in this week's storm, including 6-year-old twin girls. Volunteers are now distributing emergency supplies to the residents of Rome, Utica, and the surrounding suburbs of Kirkland and Clark Mills.
We really never were crisis response prior to the tornado last year in July. However, our executive director said we're hopping in, both feet on the ground. That's what we did.
Nora Bajor with Connected Community Schools says over 700 people have showed up at their tent for aid in the city of Rome the past few days. National Grid says customers who lost power for over 3 days are eligible for food spoilage reimbursement. The site of the worst nuclear accident in U.S. history will soon be roaring back to life. The last working reactor at 3 Mile Island near Harrisburg plans to start generating power in as soon as 2 years. This is because of a new 20-year agreement with Microsoft. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
Here in Pennsylvania, we are doubling down on that energy legacy by taking big, bold, decisive steps right now to build new sources of power.
Shapiro toured the reactor yesterday, saying this deal will create jobs in Pennsylvania by bolstering energy production.
I want to produce more energy here in Pennsylvania from every single source that we can, from natural gas to solar to geothermal to nuclear.
In 1979, a partial meltdown of the Unit 2 reactor at 3 Mile Island caused national panic. The New York Post is throwing cold water on the notion that former Governor Andrew Cuomo may run as an independent for mayor of New York City.
The Post reporting Cuomo will not run as an independent in the mayor's race this fall, citing several sources close to the former governor. An unnamed union leader says Cuomo doesn't want to run in the general and wouldn't have the money to do so even if he did. This is Cuomo told the Post and other outlets Wednesday he was still waiting to make any decision.
Correspondent Andrew Whitman. Cuomo lost the Democratic primary for mayor this week to a 33-year-old self-described socialist. The Pennsylvania History Museum will soon undergo a $55 million renovation effort. That building has stood in the state capital of Harrisburg for over 6 decades. Andrea Lowry is executive director of the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission.
This will be the largest and most comprehensive upgrade to the museum since the complex opened in 1964.
The renovation project includes a new 5th-floor terrace overlooking the Susquehanna River and the city of Harrisburg. That project expected to begin in the spring of next year. Residents of Niagara Falls, New York, are up in arms over the lack of places to cool off during this recent heat wave. City pools and splash pads will not open until July 3rd, not soon enough, according to these residents.
I think they should be open. They should have been open a little sooner.
Pool should have been ready last month. Getting ready for the hot season. I mean, it's going to only get hotter, so it's definitely important that those pools should have been filled and should have been staffed by now.
The heat waves, they're pretty dangerous, and people really do need to cool down.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It needs to be open.
The city cites a lack of lifeguards for why the pools and splash pads are not open yet there in Niagara Falls. 1 in 5 children today face food insecurity, and experts say now that school is out for summer, many of those children will be losing 2 reliable meals a day, breakfast and lunch.
School goes out, where's the meal going to come from?
That's a good question, says Ryan Healy with Feeding New York. Leslie Gordon runs a food bank downstate.
It's each one reach one. It takes all of us to make sure that all of our neighbors have the good, nutritious food they need to be able to thrive. And now more than ever, I wish I didn't have to stand before you today and say this, but now more than ever, we're seeing more people who are food insecure.
Gordon says a big reason for that is the skyrocketing cost of groceries. Psychiatric nurse Danielle Briere tells Family Life that malnutrition can translate into big problems for kids.
We see things that develop out of these food insecurities, like anxiety disorders, exacerbations of things like ADHD.
20 million children nationwide benefit from free food at school. The group Feeding America provides 30 million meals every summer to needy families. Regional food banks are partnering up with local school districts to offer meals when kids are not at school. Sports is next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report. Duke University freshman phenom Cooper Flagg was the top pick in last night's NBA draft at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. He was selected first overall by the Dallas Mavericks at just 18 years of age. Flagg is the second youngest top pick ever in the draft. A guy named LeBron James was 8 days younger than him when he was taken number 1 by the Cleveland Cavaliers back in 2003. The New York Yankees avoid the sweep, beating Cincy last night at the Great American Ballpark. 7-1 your final. Jazz Chisholm Jr. went deep with a 2-run shot to power the offense. Max Fried earning the win on the mound, striking out 7 over 7 innings of work.
Credit to the defense and especially the offensive, getting some runs on the board and giving some breathing room and being able to have a really good complete game today.
The Yanks are off today. They'll host the A's for a 3-game set starting tomorrow. The New York Mets stopped their 3-game slide, taking down the Braves 7-3 at Citi Field last night. Juan Soto powering the offense with a pair of solo home runs.
It's starting to happen, my swing, everything is going the right way. At the end of the day, we're trying to win games. It doesn't matter if I hit 2, 3, 10 homers. What I care is about winning games.
The Amazons wrap up their 4-game series with Atlanta tonight. The Philadelphia Phillies fell to Houston interleague play 2-0 your final. It's the Astros' second straight shutout victory over the Phils, who are now just a half game ahead of the Mets. In the NL East, the Phillies did have 7 hits, but were 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. The Stros will go for the sweep this afternoon. First pitch set for 2:10. And the Pittsburgh Pirates got doubled up by the Brew Crew last night. 4-2 the final on the road in Milwaukee. Paul Skeens was tagged with the loss, giving up all 4 runs over 4 innings. The Pirates will host the Mets tomorrow at PNC Park. At the Family Life Sports Desk, I'm Bob Price. And still to come on the Noon Report, a win for religious freedom in Pennsylvania. Court rules on Planned Parenthood and how AI is wasting away kids' brains today.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. 10 years ago today, June 26, 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court granted same-sex couples the legal right to marriage. The infamous Obergefell v. Hodges ruling has proven to be among our nation's most consequential and harmful decisions, especially for children. Even though, to borrow a phrase originally written about Roe v. Wade, its ruling in the case, quote, is not constitutional law and gives almost no sense of an obligation to try to be, courts across the nation and government officials still have treated Obergefell as if it accomplished much more than it actually did. In Obergefell, the court asserted that civil marriage is not about the procreative union or potential of husband and wife, but instead, marriage is a government device to give benefits to adult companions. However, numerous courts since have ruled that because marriage has been historically associated with child rearing, Obergefell must require states to also give licensed same-sex partners legal access to and custody of children otherwise not theirs. Now, of course, same-sex couples cannot procreate, so advocates pointed to reproductive technologies as the means for fulfilling this imaginary mandate. Thus, to satisfy the demands that same-sex couples had for children, children are now bought and sold through IVF and surrogacy. Mothers are rented for their wombs. Fathers are reduced to sources of genetic material. Human connection is manufactured, not created through meaningful relations. And the family is drained of its profound nature as God intended it to have, as well as its significance, a significance that historically warranted authority and immunity from this kind of legal manipulation. While the court may not have intended the anti-human techno-regime that has resulted from Obergefell, it did leave wide open these legal questions. Rather than merely expand marriage to this other relationship, as we were told at the time, Obergefell was a flat rejection of marriage as God had designed it and as it was always understood. And lawmakers and judges were strongly pressured to succumb to this new vision by activists. And yet, there are ways for officials to honor the natural family and resist the hostile innovations against it. For instance, states can maintain original birth certificates that record the child's mother and father and exclude entries for persons who are neither. States can settle child custody contests with a default rule in favor of fit natural parents and against genetic strangers. States can enforce already existing adoption laws, requiring, for example, the non-natural mother or father of the child to adopt before becoming considered a legal parent, rather than inexplicitly creating exceptions for same-sex couples. In so many states, the most essential questions about who makes a parent have not been carefully addressed, but instead have been liberally interpreted to favor non-traditional family arrangements. Elected officials have every reason to refuse ousting these venerable family law standards that have existed in our nation's history and to reinstate any of them that have been set aside. Put differently, all the progressive advocacy and liberties that other courts and lawmakers have taken with Obergefell simply are not binding. Though it may have changed the legal definition of marriage, it stands on dicey legal ground. Even more, it has no legal authority whatsoever to change the definition of family. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. And for a version of this commentary that you can print out or share with others, visit us at breakpoint.org.
Thank you, John. Outside we go next, Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life weather forecast for this afternoon. Mainly cloudy with showers from time to time, and there could be a thunderstorm. High temperatures will range from the 60s close to Lake Ontario to the low 80s near and south of Interstate 80 in Pennsylvania. For tonight, mainly cloudy, a shower, maybe some evening thunder, low temp 60s. Tomorrow and Saturday, rather cloudy with showers and a thunderstorm or two. Warmer and humid. High temperatures mid-70s to the middle 80s.
All right, Captain, thank you very much. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm Bob Price. Here's what's happening Thursday, the 26th of June. The U.S. Supreme Court is heading into its home stretch with key rulings tomorrow on immigration, pornography, and religion. Today, in a 6-3 decision, the justices said states can deny Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider. Texas Governor Greg Abbott's calling for a ban on abortion pills that are being mailed to pregnant women in Texas from other states. Ashley Leonard's with Texas Right to Life.
19,000 abortion pills are coming to Texas every year, and these are harming women.
She says legislation is needed to stop abortion pill traffickers and distributors.
We know from a study just this year that it could be up to 1 in 10 women who take these drugs can actually face severe medical complications.
Most of the abortions that happen in this country today are do-it-yourself abortions where women receive drugs either over the counter or through the mail. For the first time since last week's U.S. airstrikes on Iran, we are hearing from the spiritual leader of Iran. It's 86-year-old Ayatollah Khamenei, and he's vowing that Iran will never surrender to us and claims to have dealt us, quote, a heavy slap in the face. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth singing an altogether different tune. He hosted a press conference at the Pentagon today to talk about the success of Operation Midnight Hammer.
President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history, and it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war.
Former National Security Advisor Alex Gray says the president does deserve a lot of credit for neutralizing Iran.
He's done more than any president since Ronald Reagan to build a world that understands that peace is only possible if the United States has a willingness to use force as needed on the global stage.
U.S. senators are being briefed today on the effectiveness of last weekend's airstrikes on Iran. A grand jury in Boulder, Colorado's indicted Mohammed Soleiman on a dozen federal hate crime charges. Police say the 45-year-old Egyptian used a makeshift flamethrower to set people on fire at a pro-Israel event June 1st. Reporter Jake Rosen.
The handwritten note was found in Soleiman's car in which he called Zionism one of his enemies until Jerusalem is liberated and Jews are expelled from his land, and described Israel as a, quote, cancer entity.
Brandon Ratner's director of the Jewish Community Relations Center.
When you have someone professing that he wants to kill the vast majority of Jews and then goes out and tries, we need to believe him and treat it as such.
15 people and a dog were injured in the June 1st attack. The heat wave is easing in the eastern part of the country, but there's still 70 million of us under some kind of heat advisory today. Rob Marciano at CBS Weather.
Folks in the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast and parts of the central U.S. are still going to be baking here. It's going to feel like 101 in Cincinnati, 105 in Raleigh, in D.C., 105 as well.
The FAA looking into what happened yesterday on an American Airlines flight from Vegas to Charlotte. Soon after takeoff, flames were seen shooting out of the engine. This man was on board.
It was absolutely terrifying. I froze, basically. I was just wondering if the next blast was going to be the one.
The 11-year-old aircraft returned to the airport after making a safe emergency landing. New study by MIT shows just how detrimental AI is to students' critical thinking skills. Researchers found students who write essays with the help of ChatGPT have reduced brain activity and memory retention.
If you write your paper with GPT, you don't learn.
That's Dr. Susan Schneider. She's an expert on brain chemistry and fears students' brains today are undergoing atrophy like never before. It means they're wasting away.
AI will be getting smarter, potentially taking our jobs, and our students will need critical thinking skills. So if we don't give them the critical thinking skills, they will not be able to compete with artificial intelligence.
MIT researchers looked at the link between AI use and brain development in students students between the ages of 18 and 39. Add Nestle to the growing list of companies that plan to eliminate artificial coloring from its food and beverages. Those dyes will be no more by the middle part of next year. Kraft Heinz and General Mills have taken similar action. A lifeguard was impaled yesterday by an umbrella at a public beach in Asbury Park, New Jersey. That 6-foot-long aluminum pole went through her armpit and out her back.
It was just a freak thing. As she was putting it in, the gust caught it and pulled it up. So when she grabbed it, she was off balance. And again, she was on the top step of the bench. So she fell backwards off the bench, and the umbrella came with her when she came down, and it just landed on her arm.
The lifeguard never lost consciousness during that freak accident and should make a full recovery. Here's a feel-good story for you. Rivals have rallied behind a Little League in Massachusetts.
Last month, vandals destroyed the padded backstop of the Leominster Little League's field, making it unsafe to play on. Last night, George Lauren with the AAA Worcester Red Sox presented the league with a $2,500 check.
Just to see those smiles and see all the families that are going to be able to come and be able to enjoy games and baseball and make those memories together.
Leominster coach Rob Laura says residents and even rival Little Leagues have also donated.
It just solidified the fact that we are a family, and it means so much to me.
Laura's son Rourke hopes his team will have its field back for next month's district playoffs.
I knew the community would come through.
That report from Michael Wallace in Leominster, Massachusetts. You're tuned into the Noon Report for Thursday on Family Life.
This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the voices on the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm news anchor Sarah Harnish, and with me today, attorney Thomas Breath. We're talking religious rights of kids. A huge religious freedom case won in Pennsylvania. The City of State College up against a group of families of children attending religious schools. Here's the question. Can those kids go to public school extracurricular activities? And the answer is yes.
We asked the federal judge to rule in the parents' favor based upon a First Amendment free exercise violation of the U.S. Constitution as well as an equal protection violation. And I'm happy to report after almost 2 years of litigation, the parties resolved the litigation this year, and a consent order was entered by the judge enabling all of the students that attend parochial schools within the State College Area School District to have the same rights to participate as homeschool and charter school kids.
How is this a win for religious freedom in the Keystone State?
In many ways, it seems to be a subtle win, but it's such an important win. So many of these parents that want to send their kids to parochial schools to further their religious beliefs have to make the choice between, do I continue to grow my religious faith with my children, the family, or do I send them to a public school where they have greater opportunities for athletic scholarships? Many of these public schools, like the State College Area School District, have a vast array of educational offerings, AP courses, honors courses, a larger array of language courses and things of that nature that unfortunately smaller parochial schools just don't have the resources to offer. So obviously their children say, listen, I want to play lacrosse, and the parochial school doesn't have a lacrosse program. I want to dance in the musical, or I want to pursue French or a different language that isn't offered in the parochial school. And they've had to forbear those opportunities to foster their religious beliefs. And that's a decision that's a discriminatory scenario that they shouldn't be put in.
Yeah, and these are parents that are paying taxes to the schools. So they're paying for their kids to go to these religious parochial schools, but then they're also paying taxes to the schools that their kids that are in that age group can't attend.
Many of them said, I don't understand why you're objecting. We're paying taxes the same as any other resident in the school district pays taxes. In addition, we're paying to have our children educated at a parochial school, which relieves you of the financial obligation to educate our child.
Will this have a ripple effect for other districts across the state?
It's already started. I've spoken with 3 or 4 other parents of students that attend parochial schools, so I believe it will have a ripple effect. We are looking to clarify this statewide so that all of the school districts within the state, including the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association that governs athletics in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that everybody recognizes that these students have an individual constitutional right to participate in the same manner as homeschool and charter school students.
You defend faith-based groups across the state. Why does this case and religious freedom matter so much?
I think people have kind of become numb to the issue. I think it's been such a common practice of discrimination that I think most people don't even recognize it as discrimination. And as I talk to various people about the case and the legal theories behind the case, many times it takes them a while to realize, you know what, now I understand. That really is wrong. That really is discrimination. You can't make exceptions for homeschool students and charter school students and then say, but no, parochial school kids, they're in a religious school. You get this separation of church and state. So to me, it's a process of educating people on, you can't just say separation of church and state and somehow that, makes you immune from accountability for denying generally available benefits to individuals solely based upon their religious beliefs. And that's what's been going on, and it's been going on for a long time. And with the help of my clients and with the good Lord guiding us, hopefully we'll be able to bring it to an end.
Learn more at thomasmoresociety.org.
All right, thank you, Sarah. The name of the program, Faith Under Fire. It airs Thursdays during the Noon Report. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Faith Under Fire, along with all our original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or our website, familylife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Well, the heat wave, it's over. The heat is off for now. But the weather pattern remains fairly active. On the weather map this midday, we're tracking the passage of a cold front, dropping our temperatures, but it's now stalling east to west across the I-80 corridor in Pennsylvania. It'll be a focus for some showers and thunderstorms moving forward. The call for this afternoon, mainly cloudy with showers from time to time, and there could be a thunderstorm. High temperatures will range from the 60s close to Lake Ontario to the low 80s near and south of Interstate 80 in Pennsylvania. For tonight, mainly cloudy, a shower, maybe some evening thunder, low temp 60s. Tomorrow and Saturday, rather cloudy with showers and a thunderstorm or two, warmer and humid. High temperatures, mid-70s to the middle 80s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Finally at noon, drag out the hand sanitizer. It is National Handshake Day. Come on, who doesn't love to shake hands, really? Reporter Bree Tennis tells us where this greeting ritual came from.
Shaking hands dates back to the 5th century BC as a way for soldiers to ensure no hidden daggers were in another soldier's hands. That simple task morphed into a gesture of greeting and respect, but it's gross. The American Journal of Infection Control says a handshake transfers twice as many bacteria as a high five and about 10 times as many as a fist bump. I'm Bree Tennis.
All right. Well, I like to shake hands, even though it may be gross. That's our world, the world we live in. Thursday, the 26th of June. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.